Hello, you guys. Welcome back to another episode of In the End There's Always a Disney Guide. Today we're going to be discussing. Well, before we even talk about that, make sure you guys go and um what is it? Make sure you go. I can't believe I forgot for a second. You guys, make sure you check out DisneyGuide.com, subscribe to this podcast, and yeah, you guys already know what to do. It ain't nothing new. But so let's get into today's episode. Klaus Michaelson. Mm, 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 mm. Whew, he is just a whole nother different subject. I mean, there's literally a completely different library section devoted to this man, honestly. I mean, when we're talking about him, we're talking about personality, we're talking about reality, we just talking about everything. But let's get into it. As you guys know, whoo, I'm sorry, y'all. It's just it's a lot to discuss when it comes to this man because he too much. He really is too much. I mean, it's ridiculous how much this man is. It's really ridiculous. Like it really is though. Like I don't think you guys understand how ridiculous this is. Like I really don't think you guys understand how ridiculous this is. But before we get into this, I want to give this disclaimer. I am not a The Vampire Diaries watcher. I have watched Legacies. I've dabbled in the originals here and there, but I have not watched The Vampire Diaries, and I have not fully watched the originals. Like I said, I've dabbled here and there with that show. I don't know. It's just it's interesting. You know how when you like a show and it's interesting like when you just want to see clip from clip, but you don't really want to watch the show like that because it's not really as good to you as it may seem to be. Like, don't y'all ever know that feeling when it's like y'all just like to watch clip to clip, but you just don't really want to watch it like you would do like your favorite show. Like that's just how I feel about the show. It's good, it's deep, but it's not like that. Like it's not all that. But it's definitely it's a great show. I mean, it's not for me, but it's definitely like a great show. I'm not gonna like I'm not gonna lie and say that I watch it like that because I really don't. And I'm not saying it's a bad show. Like don't do that. Don't do that. I'm not trying to say it's a bad show. It's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying that I'm not really like as interested as I want to be. But today, we're going to be talking about the top 10 Michelson quotes that proves that this man is actually good. But let's be real, this man is a killer. I mean, let's just be honest. He's a killer. That's just what he is. You know, that's just how he is. I mean, I can't really, but there is some good moments, you know, in I mean, I haven't really seen any. I've seen some, but I haven't really seen that many. But Klaus Michaelson is typically viewed as a villain in the Vampire Diaries universe, but his motivations and actions show that he's actually a really good guy. Shockingly. Klaus Michaelson has been called many things over the course of the TVD franchise, including the Great Evil, but the originals provided some much needed perspective as to why he does what he does. Unlike other villains who typically seek out power and strength, Klaus' motivations almost always comes back to love, shockingly. Klaus has an artist's soul, which comes out in some of his most poignant speeches and comments. And these audiences get a glimpse of this man behind the monster, giving them insight into what truly makes him a good man. The 10th quote. When Klaus reassured Cammy she wasn't a failure. You stayed my hand, quelled my rage, you inspired goodness in me. And unlike all of the souls I've encountered and forgotten in long march of time, I will carry you with me. Wow, that's actually really sweet. Shockingly. I mean, it's really sweet. Really, really sweet. This quote from season 3, episode 19 of the originals comes with Camille while Camille is dying. She's panicking, terrified of dying, and says that she wishes she had done more in her life than be a bartender and fail as his therapist. Klaus takes the time to reassure her that she was never a failure and that she will never truly die so long as he remembers and is changed by her. This moment shows that when it comes down to it, Klaus is as kind and caring toward the people he loves as anyone in the TVD universe. When Klaus helped Elijah channel his darkness, we are the savage villains in a fairy tales told to children, but not for my child, not for Hope. In her story, we are the knights in shining armor. This quote from season 2, episode 7 of the originals comes while Elijah is sick and fighting against a curse from their mother that makes him relieve the dark, shameful moments he's kept hidden from himself. Klaus acknowledges Elijah's darkness, but he also gives him something to fight for. Elijah must fight against his own shame to be the kind of man Hope needs, which helps rescue Elijah from himself and makes clear that Klaus' deepest desire is to make the world safe for his daughter. When Klaus told Marcel what he was fighting for, I will not do to my child what was done to me, to us. This quote from season 1, episode 9 of the originals comes after Klaus has fought and defeated Marcel, forcing Marcel to swear his allegiance to Klaus. While Marcel assumes the coup was a matter of Klaus wanting power, Klaus explained that it was actually to appease the witches who threatened his child. Neither man had a supportive father, but Klaus wants better for his daughter and trusts Marcel enough to tell him the truth about his motivations. After this, he tries to form a better relationship with Marcel because he wants to support his family, born and made. When Klaus reassured Haley, she was still family. 7th quote. Haley, this family comes with many hardships, but there is one benefit. You will always have a home here. This quote from season 3, episode 11 of the originals comes when Haley asks if she can stay at the Michaelson's compound. By this point, the two had both betrayed and hurt each other, and Haley is clearly hesitant in even asking for help. This quote shows that no matter what might happen between them, Klaus considers Haley to be a part of his family. Quote 6, when he gave Cammy sweet dreams. Tonight you'll sleep, and you will dream of a world far better than this one. A world where there is no evil, no demons, and all people desire only to be good. This quote comes from season 1, episode 4 of the originals. Comes as part of Klaus' compulsion to Camille. He makes her forget what she knows about the supernatural world, much to her frustration, but explains he is doing it not for his safety, but for hers. Along with his attempt to protect her, Klaus adds a compulsion that will give Cammy comforting dreams, which will shelter the light he sees in her. Klaus promises to help her with the darkness encroaching on her world, but refuses to let it destroy her. Quote 5, when Klaus gave Hailey perspective on her pain. With time, they all begin to run together. But you will find the real moments are vibrant. The rest just fades away. Your pain will fade. The quote from season 2, episode 1 of the originals comes while Klaus is comforting Haley about the tragedy of losing their child and her struggles over being a hybrid and needing to kill wolves to survive. He technically has no reason to comfort Haley now that she has given birth to Hope, but he continues to treat her as family and provides her with a bird's eye view of her problems, promising her that in the realm of memory, the pain will fade while the joy will last. When Klaus helped Haley connect with Elijah, the 4th quote. Listen, Haley, a word of advice when dealing with Elijah. Don't do as I do. Just apologize. He's accomplished at many things, but he is a master at forgiveness. This quote comes from season 1, episode 11 of the originals. After Klaus has donated food and acquired shelter for the werewolves to stay at during a storm, Haley is surprised that he would do something selfless, and he continued to surprise her by offering selfless advice. At this point in the show, Klaus is deeply jealous of Haley's relationship with Elijah, because he worries about being overshadowed in the eyes of his daughter. Offering Haley advice on reconciling with Elijah is a true selfless act, and one which involves more sacrifice than anything he did for the wolves. Quote 3. When Klaus stopped fighting Marcel for Cammy. She woke in the dark, not knowing where she was or who was watching over her. It was your name she called, and if you can grant her comfort, so be it. This quote comes from season 1, episode 19 of the originals. After Camille's uncle has died, attacked her, and then died again. Cammy is in a world of pain, and Klaus gives up his feud with Marcel to give Cammy the best comfort he can offer her. Quote 2. When Klaus sacrificed himself to protect his family, which was honestly the most shocking but yet most selfless thing he could ever do by far. I write to tell you that I love you and to explain that in our family's darkest hour, I was called upon to save my siblings. So I did. Please do not mourn me. Whatever pain I endure, I do so in service of those I love. This quote comes from season 3, episode 22 of the originals. In the form of a letter, Klaus writes to Hope before he willingly sacrificed himself to be tortured for the sake of his family. The Michaelsons have been struck down by curses and poisons, and what they need more than anything is time. Time that Klaus's sacrifice is able to give them. The quote really says everything. Klaus will do anything, even sacrifice himself to years of pain and degradation away from his family to make sure that they are safe. When he funded the Salvatore School, which is the final quote. Dearest Caroline, I have often imagined the path your life may take, but your chosen future is more notable than I have ever fathomed. Please accept this contribution to your virtuous cause. This quote from season 8 of episode 16, The Vampire Diaries, comes in a letter from Klaus to Caroline along with a check for $3 million. Not only is Klaus providing a safe place for her daughter, but he is also funding Caroline's dream of a safe place for her own children where being supernatural doesn't mean they have to fight to survive. Episode 10 of Legacy shows what state the Salvatore School would be in if not for Klaus's donation. And it's considerably weaker than it is when Klaus does fund it. Much of the good school is able to do comes from Klaus's donation, proving that Klaus is more than willing to forego his own personal wealth to make a better, safer world for the next generation. Like I said, you guys, I'm just shocked. I just never expected this from Klaus. I don't know. I was really, really, really shocked. I was very surprised from this. It was a lot, you guys. It was a lot. But this definitely proves that he's a really nice guy. He's definitely a nice guy. And, I mean, it's shocking. But, yeah, he's done a lot of good. And I do praise him for that. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Make sure you guys subscribe to this podcast and subscribe to my blog. And make sure you guys check out DisneyGuy.com. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And yeah, bye guys.